Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. Well, there is a Romaniac demonstration coming up next weekend in London. That means these, I suppose, soi-disant extremist Remainers are going to be holding a march at Pall Mall beginning at noon. And they want to do everything they can to torpedo Brexit. Some of them are saying, well, thrash out a deal with the European Union and then put it to a referendum, trying to give them a second bite of the cherry, and the default setting being remain within the European Union on the current terms rather than leave. I had a courteous exchange of views with two of these gentlemen today. Now, MPs at the moment have voted about Brexit yet again. It seems that Parliament has debated little else in the past 12 months or so. And then people are saying there isn't sufficiently parliamentary debate on it. We have been talking about this ad nauseam. Anyway, I'm here arguing that it's wrong for members of Parliament to vote against Brexit in any way. I'm not saying it's illegal. Nobody suggests that. The referendum was just that. It was not a plebiscite. In case you don't know the difference, a referendum, in Latin it's literally ask them, is when the public are asked to vote on an issue, but it's not legally binding, whereas a plebiscite, that would make the decision. And the legislature would not have the legal power to thwart the will of the people. So whilst, yes, it would be lawful to vote against Brexit, I'm arguing that it's immoral. The whole point of a referendum is to let the people decide. The trouble is there was an elite consensus. All the Lib Dems, most of the Labour Party, well, a very high majority of the Labour Party, and a narrow majority of the Conservative Party were Remain. Only UKIP was the only party which was fully Leave. The SNP, Sinn Féin, SDLP, they were all Remain. The DUP was mostly Leave. The UUP was mostly Leave, that's tiny. The Green Party was Remain, and on and on. So I have no problem with frequent referenda. So the government should decide this, and Parliament should ratify it as a matter of course, because we know that we're leaving, the decisions have been made, and it's damaging the economy. These doomsayers on the Remain side said, oh, if we leave the EU, it'll lead to economic meltdown, there'll be massive unemployment, so many corporations will pull out, have proved to be bull. Almost no companies have withdrawn from the United Kingdom. Unemployment is at historic lows. It was yet another absolute stinking lie by Europhiles. I know there are a few decent, honest Europhiles, but there are many who are very dishonest. And it's all horribly familiar. It's redolent of about 2002. If we don't join the euro, this will have a massively negative impact on the economy. Unemployment will go up and blah, blah, blah. The Norwegians, they faced this scaremongering in the 90s, an attempt to twist their arm and to join the European Union. The Swiss, likewise, when they chose not to even have closer links with the European Union, there again, people tried to frighten them, and I've heard it all before. So these Jeremiads should stop. So these many of these Remainers really have no credibility because they're such proven liars. They're on Blair's scale of lying. There were some liars on the Leave side, not as many and not such whoppers of lies. Anyway, the Republic of Ireland, where I come from, we have referenda frequently. Every time an amendment to the Constitution is proposed, we must have one, and I think that's fantastic. That way it's the way it should work, and it doesn't undermine democracy. And I hear people saying the whole purpose of a parliament is so Parliament can decide. Well, there are multiple reasons to have a parliament. Legislatures existed for centuries before the idea of a referendum was ever hit upon. And I know people say the MPs, they're there as delegates, not representatives, so they're entitled to vote against the view of most of their constituents, which indeed is true, and sometimes I think it's the right thing to do. But after a referendum, no, because it's going against the will of the people. It's the settled will. We've decided that. We had this debate. And someone who works for a major corporation has complained to me, all this uncertainty is damaging our business, it's really bad for the economy. To hurry up, get on and do it. If everybody united again behind Brexit, we could hammer out a better deal with the European Union. People in the United Kingdom could do that. To know that Theresa May was not being cut off at the knees, Parliament was not going to protract the thing, was not going to possibly vote against it, then her hand would be strengthened when negotiating with the European Union. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. It could be better for both. However, some extremist Remainers would rather harm the United Kingdom so long as it benefits the European Union. They would really sell their country short because they're European nationalists. Now, It's an honourable thing to be, but it's just yet another nationalism. It's not how somehow morally superior to have preferred the EU to one's member state. The Lib Dems, well, it is richly comic. It's hilarious to see them tie themselves in knots to try and get out of accepting the referendum results, because they used to be referenda junkies. They were always calling for more referenda because they were so bad at elections. They always came last. So they wanted referenda on everything, on the monarchy. They were arguing this about 15 years ago, which there was really no public appetite for that. No more than 15% of people opposed the monarchy. They wanted referenda on, obviously, devolution. Well, they got those. They got the result they wanted. They're happy with that. They wanted one on alternative vote. They finally got that. They lost decisively. They wanted a referendum on the Treaty of Lisbon. Nick Clegg demanded this. Well, he didn't get it. And they even wanted one on EU membership. Well, be careful what you wish for. It seems that Turkeys really do vote for Christmas. But now that they've had it, and the result has been wrong, as Europhiles would say, suddenly this result doesn't count. Now, the European Union has previous on this. In the Republic of Ireland, when we voted against the Treaty of Lisbon and the Nice Treaty, we were made to vote again. And obviously the EU made a massive propaganda effort. So much money was poured into the Europhile side, and they won. People say, it's because the public didn't have enough information first time. Well, not necessarily. Perhaps they're just more bamboozled and worn down and said, well, the political classes have made their choice and we're going to be in it somehow anyway. So what if they lost a second time? Would they have a third, a fourth, a fifth? I mean, where does it end? We could have these ad nauseam. So what else? We should accept the outcome. That's it. Reasonable purpose. What if Remainers had narrowly won? Would they be saying, we should have a second one, just because in case people are not sure? No. For them, that would kill the issue stone dead. They wanted to go away. And then there would be deeper integration, bringing Albania into the European Union, the United Kingdom giving it more money to the EU, more over-regulation, more massive excessive immigration, and on, more foreign wars like attacking Libya, more stirring the hornet's nest in the Ukraine, more confrontation with other countries. It would just always be more Europe. Whatever crisis there is, the European Union will always exploit it for a power grab. More Europe. Europe is always the solution. It's never the problem, according to them. They got their head in the sand. And this is one of the many other problems with it, the one-way ratchet. A competence, once ceded to a member state, can never, ever be repatriated, which was grossly unfair. When the European Constitution, that was voted down by referenda in France and the Netherlands, the European Union went through this sleight of hand by simply relabeling it the Treaty of Lisbon, and there was yet more grotesque lying by absolute charlatans like Gordon Brown, pretending it wasn't the same thing, when many other Eurocrats acknowledged that it was 90% the same, that it was simply rebranded. And this is the nauseating mendacity that made me a Eurosceptic. Well, there are many other more reasons. Think about the case of Scotland. Now, in 2014, Scotland voted on whether she wished to remain part of the United Kingdom or not. 55% of people voted to stay within the United Kingdom. So that is that. Imagine if Scotland had been expelled anyway, despite most Scots voting to stay in the UK. It would be an outrage. It would be completely illogical. Yet, in effect, this is what many Europhiles are demanding with regard to the United Kingdom, that the UK stay inside the European Union, despite the majority wanting out. 52% voted to leave the European Union. 55% of people in Scotland voted to stay within the United Kingdom. 52%, 55%, not a significant difference. But the point is there. Nobody claimed that Scotland ought to leave, despite the majority wanting to stay within the United Kingdom. So it would be preposterous. As I've said elsewhere, I'm not totally opposed to a second referendum, so long as there's a generation gap. 25 years should elapse before the next one, leaving the EU forever. Forever doesn't mean anything in politics. We honestly don't know. No parliament can bind its successors. But we should hurry up, support Theresa May, and ensure that she has a good deal. Not waste her time, not enfeeble her, which makes it much more difficult. And so those in the EU who want to punish the UK, who are hostile, have a better chance. It's giving aid and comfort to those who are enemies of the UK, not enemies in the military sense, but want to harm the United Kingdom, wish to make an example of the UK, punish it, lest other member states such as Hungary or Denmark or Italy leave the European Union. I don't think it's likely that any of them will leave, but I don't think it's highly improbable. There's a small chance, maybe a 20 or 30% chance that any of those would leave within the next decade. So there are reasonable people in other EU member states who would like an amicable agreement where there could be commerce, healthy cooperation, amity, and so on. It's all achievable. We could be done with goodwill, but there are some people with sour grapes, sore losers on the Europhile side in the United Kingdom, who are trying to scupper a good Brexit. There are decent Europhiles, let's say Lord Hague, who said he campaigned for Remain, but the decision's been made, and he believes that we must give effect to the wish of the majority, and that is the only honourable Remain agreement. We didn't have such debate on all these EU treaties. The government wasn't hampered so much all the time. Managed to get Maastricht through. That's all for the moment.